here. We are back, everybody. I know we were missed, but things happen. So, because of the said things happening, plus some other things, we never gave Bryon a proper introduction. So
I'm
for
not that.
well, I know,
I'm
I'm sure there were some people who were watching and or listening that were like, "Who is this dude?" And I mean, we kind of said who you were, but figured this would be a good time to, just kind of briefly, well, not even briefly, just kind of really get a in depth of your qualifications, sir. For all those who are wondering who the hell this guy is.
not very qualified to do anything.
That's not true. That's not true. Hey man, if it's on your resume, it's true. You know what I'm saying?
What's a resume?
Okay, well, you may not be qualified. Anyway, first of all, we've already covered you are Ben's cousin, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
My dad is brothers to his dad.
Okay.
So we're cousins.
And we're just going to get right into it. You mentioned you pretty much grew up with them, so what was that like?
Oh, man. Yeah, we literally grew up from as long as I could remember. I've always been, I knew I was close to him, but I didn't know until recently. I didn't realize how close we was until we started finding like pictures and pictures and pictures, and it was all of me and him. He honestly, he was like the older brother I didn't have, because he's around so much, and he was a few years older than I was. So like a lot of the things that I got into growing up came from him. Like he's the reason why I'm so big into video games. He's the reason why I'm so big into wrestling and like older cartoons is because of him. And like that's why I have like I'm only 25 for the people that don't know. He's 10 years older than me, and like I know my knowledge for the past older stuff that he would know because of him.
Very cool. And you were also a competitor in XCW.
That I was. Yep. Oh, what was it? April 2016. 15 is when I started. And what's funny about that is for many years I asked to wrestle. I wanted to. And as a kid growing up, I had really bad anger. That's definitely gotten better since then. But I had really bad anger, and he kept saying, well, you're just going to get the best of yourself. You go get stiffed one time on accident and take it out on everybody. And I'm like, no, I won't. I'll be fine. And then finally I got with the right people to be able to join. And he's like, we used to give him crap all the time about it. Well, imagine how good I would have been if you would have let me done it 10 years earlier.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that. Basically, because now I forget what I was saying, but it was essentially like he kept saying that, and I don't think at the time I clicked he was talking about you, but he said his cousin wrestled as well, and I said, well, come on, bring him on.
Oh, you know, my God, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
we talked about how in a future episode we will have another guest with us. And we were talking about how he always said he wanted to have people as guests. He always wanted to have people as guests, and it would never happen.
Right.
Ever.
Well, I mean, we've had some guests on, but I would like he would always talk about all these people he knew that could come on the podcast, and I was always like, well, bring them on.
And I don't know with him, he'd always talk. Like nothing really happened. It's just, but. Yeah, that's just how it got into it with wrestling. It finally took me getting a hold of the right person to finally get in. And then we'd always give him shit like, yeah, imagine if I would have done it 10 years ago and you would have let me. Look how good I would be now.
Right. So that was big for me when I realized that you were the cousin who wrestled that he was talking about, because my big thing with this show is I want at least one of the hosts to have been trained and had experience in the ring, because obviously I haven't. I give a lot of shit when it comes to like storylines and gimmicks and writing, but unless something is just obviously terrible, I tend to not comment on the in-ring work, because I don't, other than what I see, and I'm not trained to see certain things, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know this stuff, and I would often defer to him as I will to you. Is to be like, it seemed to me like this is what was going on. Am I reading too much into that, or am I off base, or is that there's something there? And
Yeah.
he's always pretty good about saying like, nope, you were right, or he's like, I don't know about that. So, because one of my biggest, it's not a secret, wrestling fans can be toxic and stupid and not know anything at all of what they're talking about. Kind of like when people say that John Cena can't wrestle. It's like, no, he can. He just doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, if you see some of his earlier stuff when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics, he'd go out there and wrestle his heart out. He was just booked in a weird position as he was growing to not have to work as hard.
Right. It makes total sense. And again, I thought people can't seem to wrap their head around the type of schedule that a WWE wrestler had at that time. We're talking, for somebody like Cena, particularly when he was on top, we're talking on the regular 5-6 days a week.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, if he's on a house show loop plus TVs, and that was when he was on top. That was when they had the different brands, but they weren't split. So
yeah,
he would essentially headline every Raw, every SmackDown, and then do the live event circuit, which I believe, depending on their schedule, is 4 or 5 days a week. So he could easily be on the road 7 days a week.
Oh yeah, and that was like between like 05 and 07. Between 05 and 07, 08-ish, a little bit. Like he was the guy. He was nonstop doing. He was hosting on TV shows. He was on Today's shows. He was anything and everything you could think of. He was going to doing it.
Oh, and I was going to say, I was just talking about his wrestling schedule. Like you said, that's not including the media and he still made time to do all those Make-A-Wish wishes, which I still think he holds the record.
I think he does.
I think it's by a pretty wide margin. So, yeah, considering, and it's not like his matches were bad. In fact, I can't think of, off the top of my head, I can't really think of a bad John Cena match, and if it was bad, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, but I can think of one, and I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh, I'm sure they're out there. I just can't think of one off the top of my head.
When he wrestled Carlito's bodyguard, when he wore the yellow pants, the banana pants.
Okay, yeah. And we're also not counting his work as Juan Cena.
That's Juan Cena.
What?
That's Juan Cena. I don't know who.
Oh, that's a separate. Well, yeah, I know. It's kind of like how people mix up El Generico and Sami Zayn, because apparently they look super alike. I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can say that, because El Generico doesn't have a face.
What about Elias and Ezekiel?
Okay, that's bullshit. That's WWE trying to. Oh, what was Kevin Owens?
Keen Owens.
Yeah, that's right.
Not to get off even more topic, because I know we're here talking about me. I think they should do a promo like they did with Mick Foley, where they should have recorded beforehand, where it's Elias talking, and then Ezekiel walks in, and then you got Ezekiel and Elias both at the same time talking to each other.
They need, and you know what is funny is I'm gonna give props to Elias / Ezekiel, because I mean, as stupid as this is, he's playing it straight. He's getting it over. And that's the trick. And I love, like, oh God, because I'm making a conscious effort to watch more WWE, in part because of this podcast, and also in part that Cody Rhodes is back in WWE, and he's doing amazing. But also just because, like, you got to watch at least a little bit of everything. And it is WWE, to say that they're not still the number one is just misguided and silly. And plus AEW, I don't know what's wrong over there, but
Cody's gone.
Cody's gone. Well, I wouldn't say that because honestly, like I've always liked Cody Rhodes. I've always liked him, but I think and I remember even when Cody joined the Elite, I remember like it felt like he was the odd man out. Like Cody, like the Bucks and Kenny were all about like the new school of wrestling, and I always felt Cody was more old school mentality.
Yeah, I can see where you're getting at that because like he was raised to be in the shadows almost of his dad Dusty.
Well, it makes sense too. And again, have you've seen All In? Like you watched it?
A good part of it, yeah.
Okay, did you watch the Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis?
I think I watched part of that
for the NWA. Well, okay, so I'm gonna see if it's still on there because at some point I'd like to do an episode where we just talk about All In. I think somebody uploaded it to YouTube, but if it's still on there, I'll send you a link. But I mean, nobody uploaded it to YouTube illegally. Nobody did. Although now that Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor, I kind of think that they should rebroadcast that.
I think he's working on that.
I think he is because the only beef, or not beef, the only issue would have been the New Japan, but it was all pretty much owned by Ring of Honor because they did the production for it.
Yeah.
So that should have been included with the purchase. So I think they should release that thing on DVD, or a download or something on AEWshop.com, because even though I may or may not know where a digital copy can be illicitly procured, I would still buy it because All In does and always will hold a special place for me because I was there, and you could just tell. Like, you couldn't exactly point where it was going, but you knew that the wrestling industry would never be the same because they proved that there's a desire for an alternative of WWE, and it was in full force there. Like you can't deny. But
didn't they sell out in like 27 minutes or something?
29 minutes, some odd seconds, and actually they ended up selling more tickets than they actually made more space somehow, some way, because the bet was 10,000, but I think they ended up selling somewhere in the neighborhood of like 11,300, something like that. And I will tell you, it was packed. There were no empty seats. Not a one. But anyway, my point, if you watch All In, the Cody Rhodes Aldis match had, I'd say it had the biggest fight feel for sure, but it felt more like, I'm not even going to say WWE. Like, it just felt like the old school, like, I'm not saying NWA and Memphis are the same thing, but like it had that old school like Memphis / NWA big fight feel.
Okay, I get that. I get where you're getting at.
Yeah, and even the match itself seemed a lot more legit. Like it looked and felt like it's kind of like if you would compare, like a UFC to like a once in a lifetime boxing match. Like don't get me wrong, like UFC's great. It's awesome. I would compare it to like if you had say like a rematch between McGregor and Alvarez. Like it's a big fight, right?
Yeah.
But the Cody Aldis match felt more like Ali versus Tyson if both were in their prime.
Okay.
Like it was just a big.
I can see what you're getting at with that one.
Yeah, it just felt legit, and I mean, I will say if you watch it, the audio you hear doesn't do it justice. Like you couldn't hear shit. When Cody came out, everybody popped, and when Aldis came out, almost and I say almost because I'm sure there were a handful of people that were rooting for Aldis, but I mean, he was getting booed out the building. I mean, Jim Cornette would have had a tear in his eye. And be like, God damn it, he came out and he wrestled like a fucking heel.
Wow. All right, a little backtrack on me.
Well, that's kind of the point, because like we're gonna learn, the people are gonna learn about you, but we're also just talking about wrestling, and at the end of the day, that's what this podcast is all about. So that'll nicely segue into the question that some people are dying to know. Who would you say is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh man, you would ask that one.
It's hard, isn't it?
As a kid growing up, this was my favorite wrestler. I thought was my favorite wrestler of all time. I thought as a kid Goldberg was my favorite. And then as I got older, I was like, man, I'm really digging Ultimate Warrior. I love the gimmick. And then now that I'm older, I really think Undertaker is my favorite. He's just more that I've learned about him, knowing like who he is actually as a person and like how straightforward he was. Like, I'm pretty sure Undertaker might be my favorite all time now.
I mean, now, you can pick worse.
Now, if I chose a current generation, because I know that's not a question you'd ask.
Yeah, who's your favorite active right now?
Oh, you would say active.
Well, I mean, when I say active, like he may not necessarily be on TV right now, but like, okay, go ahead, say you're thinking, but
let's say within the last 10 years, because that's
okay.
More than 20, 30 years ago.
That's fair.
From the last 10 years, honestly, it would probably have to be Bray Wyatt. Because I watched him in his NXT days when he was Husky Harris, and I watched him the OVW stuff when he went back, because he had another secret character when he went to OVW. After Husky Harris, he wore a mask. And then I watched on NXT when he came up as Bray Wyatt, and then brought in Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. And then like I've watched him all throughout his career on WWE, and I
love, and that's what I tell a lot of people because whenever you're talking to a normal person and they're always like, why do you like pro wrestling? Like what gives? And I'm like, honestly, if I had to pick the one thing I like the most is I enjoy watching people's like succeed over time. And one of my favorite examples of that is Kevin Owens, because I had stopped watching wrestling for a while, and then I got super back into it after I discovered, I'm trying to remember, I started watching NXT, and you got to remember, I hadn't watched wrestling I probably stopped watching around 2009 or 10. I think I was trying to hang on, but it was getting worse and worse and worse.
I can agree with that. That's about what time I stopped watching it too.
Yeah, and then I was like, I missed wrestling, but it sucked. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give it a shot. And I had discovered NXT by accident, and I didn't know this at the time. For those of you, some of you may not know this. So WWE programming is on Hulu, and NXT is as well. However, I don't know if this is a mistake or on purpose, but the takeovers end up on Hulu.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're put on there just like regular episodes.
I did not know that.
So I inadvertently started watching NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way.
Mm-hmm.
And holy shit, like this is the kind of wrestling I like. The no bullshit, like just athletic contests, and it's about the belt or it's about the match. And it's funny because I have very little sympathy for stupid gimmicks, but sometimes they work. And in this case, Tyler Breeze, like, it's entertaining, and I don't know exactly what was different. Actually, I think I do. It's because you can tell when somebody's just like taking it and owning it. And I'm saying the Tyler Breeze gimmick was funny, but then when it was time to wrestle, he could go. So I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. He's like Zoolander. That's funny.
Yeah.
And I knew who Tyson Kidd was, but the other three I had no clue who these people were. And I watched the whole thing, but I'm like, this is fucking good. You know, but that match was almost perfect because here's the thing. I knew who Tyson Kidd was, but he was a fuck all. I never cared about Tyson Kidd because I thought he had one of the worst names in wrestling. But I had no idea who the other three people were. Not even that. Like maybe 40 seconds into the match, I knew who was a face, I knew who was a heel, and I got the gist of what was going on based on what was happening in the ring. Like I knew that Neville was the champ, but he had retained it under some questionable means, and that he's like he and Sami Zayn are kind of buddy, but you just got to say, oh, he's gonna fuck him. Yeah, like he's gonna fuck him over. And like I was just mesmerized. I'm like, holy shit, this is. And then I discovered Lucha Underground shortly thereafter, and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely into this because there's a lot of cool shit happening here. And then I discovered New Japan, and then I was back in. I was fully back in. And I know this is a really long story, but because this ties in. And through New Japan, I'd been trying to watch Ring of Honor because I'd known about Ring of Honor for years, but I could never watch it. I ended up being able to watch it, and I kept hearing about this guy named Kevin Steen. And I'm like, okay, so this is like, sounds like something I'd like. So I start watching some Steen matches, and I started watching Ring of Honor around the tail end of his run in Ring of Honor. Like shortly before he left Ring of Honor to go to NXT. So I knew who he was.
2014-ish, 2013-ish?
2014, yep. So anyway, I'm watching NXT, and there were rumors that he was going to NXT. Actually, it was confirmed. Never mind, he signed the contract. But then I start seeing vignettes for Kevin Owens. And I'm like, oh shit, Steen's coming to NXT. And his debut match to this day is one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
Because you can just tell. Like, it's written all over his face. He's like, I finally fucking made it. Like, and that, you can just, it's written all over. You can feel it. And then, too, when you see, like when Hangman Page went against Jericho for the AEW title, when Jericho won it for the first time, it's like, that shit's real, man. Like, I know it's fake, but like you can, and Hangman's been on record being like, I never thought I would be on a platform this big ever. You know, and it's just like he was a teacher in fucking Virginia and just was wrestling on the weekends, and then all of a sudden he gets catapulted up to this level, and now he's in contendership for the world title in a new wrestling company that's got nationwide television. Like, what the fuck?
And they don't happen to everybody.
No, not at all, and he deserves every bit of it. But it's just, I love seeing people succeed and watching Cody win the belt that his dad had and just all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's super fucking cool. But so you're pretty well the Undertaker, you'd have to say?
Yeah, I'd have to say Undertaker all time, and then like new generation probably have to be Bray Wyatt and Fiend.
All right, who would you say your favorite is who's active right now? Like who's the person or people that no matter what's going on, you'll watch it if they're on the screen?
Well, honestly, he's injured right now, so he's technically still active, right?
Yeah, he would still be active. He's just injured.
Rick Boogs.
Oh, Jesus.
I love him, man.
Oh
I love what him and Shinsuke do. It's just, I don't know. I find it Like you always got to have your seriousness, and then like there's always got to be like a comedy aspect to it to make you laugh, and like he always gives me that laugh. But if we gotta say wrestling wise, damn it, wrestling wise,
Rick Books is your entertainment guy.
yeah, Rick Boogs is my entertainment guy. Man, you really put me up there.
Well, I will say on the subject of entertainment, I would like to go on record as stating, out of respect for Ben, I will do my absolute, because I can't promise this, but I will do my absolute best to not talk so much shit about Danhausen.
Oh, okay. Are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about in general.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about WWE only. Okay.
Oh no! In general, just wrestling. Period.
Okay, that throws up a whole new.
Oh yeah, because my favorite wrestler of all time isn't. I wouldn't even. He's been in WWE, but I wouldn't really even consider him a WWE guy. I would consider him an ECW guy. And then he's going through his mind. It's like, who's been in WWE but isn't really a WWE guy?
Been a lot.
It's RVD.
I don't know. He's been a WWE guy.
I know. He's been I would never say he was the guy.
Now, if you would have said like Sabu, I would understand. Like he was kind of in WWE, but it wasn't, only for the ECW stuff.
I honestly believe that Sabu only had a WWE contract because of RVD.
Probably.
I think it'd be okay to admit that.
My favorite wrestler in general, from the standpoint right now. Let's go through my head. Probably Bryan Danielson.
That's fair. I'm loving everything.
Probably Bryan Danielson. Or I could argue Edge right now because he's going through a big phase also.
Yeah, I don't really hate what they're doing, but I can't stand the name. Like, here's my thing. I actually put on Twitter a couple days ago. I was like, hey, the Judgment Day, you misspelled House of Black. Because they're doing the same fucking thing. But I hate the name The Judgment Day because like The Judgment Day sucks. Judgment Day would be better, but if it was just Judgment, that'd be badass.
Yeah, I could agree on that one.
That would be badass. And then they could have and like Edge could do it too. Edge could do this. It'd be like their shtick would be like, and we pass judgment upon you.
Yeah, and Rhea Ripley is now part of it. And didn't I call that when we did our WrestleMania?
You did call that.
Call that.
You know, that happens a lot on this podcast, which is why you should listen every time, because we called shit a mile away.
Like I had that feeling that it was due.
Yep. And speaking of things coming, this is a perfect segue into the podcast sponsor for this week, OMG CBD. Bryon, do you partake in the what the cool kids are calling the SIBD these days?
Oh no, I don't.
Oh, you do. Well, of course you will now, because it's going to be closer and more convenient than ever, probably. OMG CBD are having their grand opening on May 27th, 935 2nd Street, Columbus, Indiana. OMG stands for Organic Medical. Oh, God. I'm doing a piss poor job here. I've lost it. I've lost my notes. Bear with me, because I'm a bad advertiser.
You bad person.
I'm such a shitty person. Organic Medical. Let's see if I can remember. Organic Medical. See, if I took the CBD, my memory would be a lot better, and I wouldn't have these issues.
Dementia kicking in.
Yeah, and apart from that, their CBD can help you with all kinds of stuff, not least of which being memory, along with joint pain, general aches and pains, anxiety. I did take some CBD gummies that the owner of OMG CBD gave me that helped me sleep like a fucking baby. And
Wow.
the best part was too, is I told her specifically, I said, I want straight CBD. I don't want anything with any of the other additives and nonsense in it. I just want straight CBD. And she was just like, no problem. Where is this name? I fucked up this spot so bad.
We're live, pal.
We're like, yeah, we're a little live TV, pal. Oh, God. Well, I just fucked that up royally. We'll figure it out. Anyway, it's OMG CBD. Like I said, I gave you the date for their grand opening. They are going to have a raffle for a number of items. They are also the first store in the Columbus area to carry Hoosier hemp growers. I guess that's a big deal. I don't really know. CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9, gummies, edibles of all kind. Basically anything you could possibly need. All your CBD needs in one convenient location. You can like them on Facebook at OMG CBD with more details, contact information. And like I said, remember their grand opening, May 27th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 935 2nd Street, Columbus, Indiana, 47201. Don't go to harass them, go to buy stuff. And remember, OMG CBD, the CBD shop that is here to medicate and educate you.
Ooh.
Ooh. So definitely check them out. I know I will be. One of the regular sponsors of the podcast. We love OMG CBD. They make me go omg.
Good.
Omgsibd.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're not going to send us our check for that one.
Probably.
So it's a good thing check's in the mail, pal. Anyway. Okay, so your favorite wrestler of all time, Undertaker, solid choice. Yeah, but like you said, with Bryan Danielson, which I finally gotten used to calling him Bryan Danielson again instead of Daniel Bryan, because I was doing that every time.
I mess up all the time still.
Yeah, how badass is the Blackpool Combat Club?
Pretty badass.
That's fucking awesome. I never thought Wheeler Yuta would look cool. There's just something about standing next to William Regal and Daniel Bryan. It's like, damn it! I did it again. That's why I need my OMG CBD to help my memory.
Oh, there you go. There's a good slogan.
Bryan Danielson. It was just fun watching them slap the shit out of the Jericho Appreciation Society.
What is it not fun to watch it?
You know, that's a very good point. Except I really can't dislike Daniel Garcia too much. But 2.0, I mean, they just both have such punchable faces.
Every single time I see his face.
And then he starts talking. And then it's just game over.
It's like, all right, I'm changing the channel. See you in 10 minutes when you're gone.
See, the frustrating thing for AEW with me is the way I have to watch it, because I don't have cable. I have to watch it through a streaming app, which I can fast forward, but it's a pain in the ass. Whereas with WWE, I watch on Hulu, so I end up fast forwarding, I'd say probably through at least half of it. Although I did sit through all of the latest episode of NXT, and that was fucking painful.
Now, honestly, NXT haven't really kept up too much on the past couple weeks.
Dude, because I'll tell you exactly what's going on with NXT. It's one of two things. It's either generic wrestler or poor imitation copy of somebody that used to be popular and is no longer there.
Yeah.
Because Cora Jade is just AJ Lee. But without the crazy.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're getting with that one.
Now, I don't dislike Cora Jade, but to me, she just looks like a. It's like if you ordered AJ Lee from Wish. You know, it's like, this isn't bad, but it's no different. and they're also doing this. I forget what it's called, but some women's tournament.
Oh, man, I heard something about that a few days ago.
It doesn't matter. I couldn't believe that, with the exception of like Nikita Lyons, for the most part, like they all looked the fucking same. Like even their ring gear, like their overall.
It's like making a basic creator wrestler from 2004.
Yeah, but like the templates. Like before you go in and change anything, it's just like basic female wrestler. I don't know. I'm shocked at how young some of these people in NXT are. Like, I'm sorry. I can't imagine, unless you are just like a 1 in a million diamond in the, like, if you're 19, I can't imagine that you're ready to be on television.
I can agree with that, but like, if you've been like training and working since you're like real young,
right?
But if you're just starting at like 17, 18 years old, and you're already got a WWE contract, somebody's doing something under the table.
And it's not suplexes.
Nope.
You said it, not me.
Someone's got the anaconda vice.
I can see Vince McMahon laughing at that joke.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
Andre the Giant. Speaking of, well, not speaking of, I'm segueing here. I've been racking my brain. I can't come up with a nickname for you because there are so many Bryon nicknames. We got Flying Bryon Pillman. We got Hawaiian Bryon last. We got Daniel Bryan, which that's not a nickname. That's a ring name.
All right. I got a nickname.
Okay.
You can use it if you're not. I used to be called this as a kid. My dad called me it when I get trouble. Call me Crying Bryan.
Well, you can't be Crying Bryan, but let me ask you, do you enjoy frying?
And no, it's too fattening.
Okay, shit. Because I was hoping for Frying Bryan, but...
Oh, Frying Bryan. I mean, that's a good one. It's got a kick together.
Maybe Frying Bryan because you got so much heat.
Are you calling me fat?
No. Frying because of the heat. No, dude. That's no. I'm not.
Nah, it's fine. I like jokes.
Oh, I know, but like it's not a good joke.
I guess not.
If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen because Frying Bryan's in there. I don't know.
Oh God, you're going hard into this one.
I need this.
Okay, Moreland.
Applying Bryan.
Because I'm applying the knowledge.
He's applying Bryan.
Supplying Bryan.
Supplying. Okay. You know what? Maybe we just have a rotating list. It's always
whatever comes to your mind first.
Fucking Bryan.
Fucking Bryan.
Fucking Bryan. Well, we'll workshop this. We'll keep it around. Share in the comments if you have a nickname idea for Bryan. Be nice.
And it's Bryon.
He puts the Y in Bryan.
You commies.
He's Y-ing Bryan.
Y-ing Bryan.
That's what they call him when he gets drunk.
That's make sure you get to the couch, Bryan.
He's oh God.
You call me Styling Bryan.
Styling Bryan. I like Styling Bryan. That's good.
Styling.
Profiling Bryan.
I'm gonna Ric Flair. Woo!
So I say this a lot. Speaking of Ric Flair, I say this a lot, and nobody really thinks about it until I say it, and then they always agree with me. Out of everyone who's ever done a woo, including Ric Flair impressions, Ric Flair's woo is not particularly good. It's like there's no air. It's like there's no air behind it. It's more like a woo. when Ric Flair does it. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
I think cause I don't know. Honestly, I think when he does it, the crowd does it at the same time, so they overhear what
I've heard
he's
old
doing.
I've heard old promos though, where you didn't hear the audience. It's just woo. Like that's about the extent of it. It's like he doesn't have the lung power behind it.
Oh, probably the way he gets red and hot.
I get well, but even then they're like short. They're like, woo, tasty, woo, buttery, woo, chicken fingers.
I mean, I can. I wasn't around for his NWA stuff and the older stuff, so I don't really know as many promos. But I think I can agree with you on that one because he doesn't seem like. I mean, he's the originator of it, so honestly, if it ain't his way, it's nobody's way. But I think Jay Lethal does the best woo.
Yes, Jay Lethal's woo is insanely good.
Like, I love Jay Lethal. Like, when Jay Lethal and Flair was doing the woo-offs and the promo battles together, and Jay Lethal was trying to go against Ric Flair and play Ric Flair, you could see in Flair's face that he was laughing inside because it was so good and funny.
You know, and there's a very funny story because apparently AJ Styles, I've heard it, AJ Styles has a phenomenal, pun intended, Ric Flair impression.
Really?
But apparently, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard this. I heard that Ric Flair heard about it, and I think there was somehow, some way, he thought that it was AJ making fun of him.
Oh.
So apparently, for a little while at least, there was some actual heat between Ric Flair and AJ Styles. But I know that AJ like explained it and it was like, no. It's just like, you know, like who doesn't? It's kind of like people impersonating Stone Cold. Like nobody actually does it to make fun of him.
No.
It's just like it's a badge of honor. Like
that's the first I've heard of that.
But yeah, it's quite. AJ Styles does a kick-ass Ric Flair impression.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube, or at least the audio. I don't know if they ever videoed it, but there is audio. Like there was a long time where did you watch Southpaw Regional Wrestling?
Very little.
Oh God, it's fucking hilarious. But anyway, there was a rumor going around because they have those KFC commercials during them, where it says that it's a paid Ric Flair impersonator, but it's actually Ric Flair.
Oh.
But
I didn't know that.
there were rumors going around that it was actually AJ Styles, but it is actually Ric Flair. That's why it's funny, because it says down on the lower right corner that it's a paid Ric Flair impersonator, and at one point he's like, this is not Ric Flair. But it actually was Ric Flair.
No, I did not know that.
Oh God, Southpaw Regional Wrestling is one of the funniest things I've ever fucking seen. It's so goddamn good. Riveting.
Wow.
Or and then TJP is John Johnson, the champion, and has no fucking personality whatsoever. If you have, like, seriously, if you're watching this, after you're done watching this, go to YouTube and look up Southpaw Regional Wrestling. They're super short episodes, but God, they are funny.
I'll have to look into that afterwards too.
Oh yeah, it's hysterical. You can tell everybody's just having a blast because all they're doing is just lampooning 80s wrestling.
Wow.
And Daniel Bryan, because he was in WWE at the time, he plays two people. I don't remember the American's name, but he also plays a French guy named Rene Barret. And they're cutting promos where like they're yelling at each other, but it's obviously him just wearing different clothes. It's hilarious.
Yeah. That sounds hilarious.
And then of course you get the comedy duo of the Good Brothers playing versions of their old actual wrestling characters. In this case, it's Tex Ferguson, but Luke Gallows used to be when he first started his independent career, he went by the Stunning Sex Ferguson.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so in this one, it's Tex Ferguson, and then you've got Chad Too Bad. And it's so goddamn funny. It's all funnier than Danhausen. See, I broke my promise already. Shit.
Man, he's gonna raise up.
Okay, but I will say this: I am personally offended that Danhausen is anywhere near Hook. But if you had to do this, here's how you should have done it, and this would have made sense, because you had the whole shtick of Hook, like not Hook. See, that was the other thing, is it started out real inconsistent, because at first Danhausen tried to curse Hook.
Yeah.
And then he started trying to be his friend like the next week. And it didn't make any sense. If you wanted to book this properly, here's how you would do it, as ridiculous as this is. You have Danhausen start coming out during Hook's matches, not every match, but during some of them, and try to curse Hook, but it doesn't work. And then Hook would win, and then they'd have a stare down or whatever. And then it comes out somehow, some way, that Danhausen wasn't cursing Hook, he was cursing Hook's opponents.
Oh, okay. I like that.
See, and that's how you get them into a tag team, because at first Hook is gonna act all pissed off and stuff, because now, like, and this makes sense, because Hook's a younger guy, you know, trying to make an impact, and now he's thinking, well, shit, was that me or was that Danhausen? So, but then you somehow, like, you can have Hook start getting mad at him and be like, leave me alone, get away from me, blah, 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 blah. So then, Hook starts winning matches without Danhausen there. So now, like, he knows he's legit. And then you can have Danhausen do a backstage segment where he's like, sorry, I was just, trying to help Hook because, I don't have any character development. And AEW really thinks that everyone should know Danhausen. And very stupid way to debut him, but they have no patience and cannot wait for Danhausen's leg injury to heal. So anyway,
Benji would be rolling around in his grave right now.
Oh, he'd be laughing because he knows deep down that I'm right. Like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't get Danhausen, but I admit I just don't get it. It's not my cup of tea. But if you're going to do it, at least do it in a way that makes sense. So what you do then is Danhausen basically is just like, okay, I'll leave you alone, but, just know all I wanted to do was be your friend.
Yeah.
And then Hook goes out to his... I would have done this about 2 weeks later, because Hook starts getting into it with QT Marshall and the Factory, right? Well, yeah. And then they all jump him. And Hook's only one man. He can't fight 5 guys at once. He can try valiantly. And then who busts out to the ring but Danhausen? And Danhausen, and they both just sit there, and Danhausen tries to help him, but 2 people can't fight off an entire group, and they just sit there and they take the beating. The Factory fucks off, and then you just have Hook and Danhausen laid out in the ring, and then they both manage to get up, and Hook's just got this look on his face like, I fucking told you to stay away, you stupid fuck. And then it looks like Hook's gonna unload on Danhausen, and then he just sticks his hand out and helps him up. Don't tell me an audience wouldn't pop for that. I'd pop for that, and I'm not even a Danhausen fan. I would pop for that. And then the next week, you've got Hookhausen. But instead, they just couldn't help themselves. They couldn't be patient. They had to just throw it out there. And kudos to Hook, because he's selling it. He's making it work somehow.
That he is.
Because is there anything Hook can't fucking do?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, as much as I hear people shit on Hook.
Who's shitting on Hook? Name me one thing that he's done poorly.
I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying from what I've heard from the media, they just shit on him.
Well, the media, fuck the media. But I mean, in all seriousness, if somebody knows something I don't, let me know in the comments. Let me have it. But like, name one thing that I mean, like, yeah, Hook. I know there was some controversy about some of his strikes in his first match, how they didn't look super polished, but like, really? I mean, from what I understand, it was corrected the next week. The cross faces.
Only issue I ever had with him is I didn't like how he didn't sell his stuff. He's not built like Taz to not sell a move. Taz could get away with it because that's just who Taz was. Hook's just... He's too built for high-fly, flinky-dinky bullshit.
Which he doesn't do.
Like, you're trying to take Taz...
See, I do think that with Hook, what they're going for is more of a mental toughness thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it. I know what you mean, though, because I've seen him sell, but not to the degree which I'll be honest, I kind of don't hate it. The only time that I kind of looked sideways at it was, who was he in the ring with? It was somebody that was significantly bigger than him. And it's like, okay, that should have hurt you a little bit more, but...
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name off the top.
But it's certainly not as ridiculous as Riho. Like, it... Look, I don't hate Riho, like, at all. But if you think for one goddamn second, what's Riho, 98 pounds, soaking wet? What's that?
Soaking wet. I was agreeing with you.
Yeah, 98 pounds soaking wet against Nyla Rose, who I don't remember what the build weight is, but two Rihos might make a Nyla Rose. Might. And the fact that she beat her clean on national television, on pay-per-view, that people paid to see, and we're expected to buy this shit? Hell, Riho does a spot where, like, somebody will have her covered, and she, like, backbends out of it, except you see it coming, because the other person's on their fucking knees. You know it's coming, because if somebody had their body weight on her, she wouldn't move.
No, not at all.
If Riho's wearing long sleeves, you have to keep her away from strong winds, or she'll fly away. Like, Riho could work. I've said this before. If Riho was a heel and had to cheat to win, oh, perfect. Because then you could sell home the fact, like, Nyla Rose isn't a good example because Nyla Rose has pretty much been a heel since the beginning, but who's a... Not necessarily like a broad girl, but who's like a real powerhouse in the women's division? Let me think here. Like a Chris Statlander.
Okay.
You know, significantly bigger than Riho. You know, but like if Riho cheated to beat Chris Statlander for a title, oh. And the audience would buy into that because anybody with half Ray would be like, there's no fucking way if this was a fair fight.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way Statlander would slap her and knock her out.
That's true.
Much less kick her. But if Riho had Emi Sakura in her corner as her coach, like, I'm sorry, that's good wrestling.
Yeah.
But having Riho be like just a straight babyface, like, I don't know, and it probably flies in Japan, but here there's such a size differential. Like, and everybody loves to throw. It's like, well, what about Rey Mysterio? I'm like, okay, yes, Rey Mysterio's a lot smaller, but Rey Mysterio was that damn good.
Yes, he wrestled enough people bigger than him that he knew how to work them.
Yeah, and he made it look legit. And Rey Mysterio would throw, and plus, Rey Mysterio doesn't weigh 98 pounds. He's what, maybe 150?
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll call it 150, 140, 150, depending on the time period. But 140 pounds being hurled at you still hurts.
Yeah.
98 pounds? A lot less. It's not the same.
No, it's not. And it definitely takes a new strategy.
Well, and plus Ray was so good at like the Hurricane Ranas and the flippy dippies in a good way, because Ray could be over you, underneath you, go to the side before you'd even know what was happening. I've never seen Riho do anything like that.
I don't think I have either.
And again, I'm not knocking Riho for the in-ring work other than that one spot, which is just so stupid and phony. And she shouldn't do it. I get you can do a backbend, great. So do it to dodge a lariat. Something that makes sense. But you can't buy it. Like, everybody knows it's bullshit. And I know we all know wrestling's not real. Well, we all know wrestling's predetermined, but like, at least pretend. Let's at least pretend. That would be like Marco Stunt winning against Wardlow.
Oh.
Like, I'm surprised AEW didn't do it.
Now, he has beat Brian Cage before.
Yeah, don't remind me. Considering Brian Cage can pick him up with one arm and throw him across the room.
I think Brian picked him up with a big toe.
Oh, God, if Brian Cage kicked him, he'd kill him.
It's like South Park. It's like playing Kick the Baby.
Kick a baby.
Don't kick the baby.
Kick the baby. That would essentially be what it's like, though.
Hell yeah.
I have noticed, though, that, speaking of AEW, I've noticed the ridiculousness has gone up a bit. Minus the Blackpool Combat Club. I can't really think of too many straight acts in AEW right now.
I can't either off the top of my head.
There's a lot of silliness going on.
And you know why?
Why?
Because Cody Rhodes.
Because Cody Rhodes is gone?
Yeah.
You know, there might actually be something to that. There might be, honestly, because as much as I love the Young Bucks, and believe me, I love the Young Bucks, but keeping it straight is not their strong suit. They tend to like the, and it's so weird because I love Young Bucks matches. I really do, but it works for them. But it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. It's kind of like how I can watch a Lucha Brothers match and love it. But every time I watch AAA, I feel like I'm watching a car crash.
I think I can agree a little bit on what you're saying there.
It's just too damn fast. And plus, I see every time I watch AAA, I see at least one spot that's just like, that was so fucking stupid. And plus, the camera's not on them long enough for you to see it.
Yeah, it just happens. It happens so quick. Sometimes you can't even catch it.
Well, even the way they edit their shows, it's just like, it's too fast. I'm just like, I want to watch this at half speed just so I don't get fucking motion sickness. Like, settle down, guys. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, like, I watch WWE matches and I'm like, can we
pick it up a little bit?
Can we pick it up a little bit? Like, I get it. Like, and I think sometimes in WWE they sell too much because sometimes you're like, I mean, really?
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna sell a lariat like that, but then I've also seen you go through 3 tables and spring right back up. No, I don't know. Well, I do know, but and I watch New Japan, and it just doesn't happen there. I don't know what they must teach them different.
It's that strong style.
Man, I'm telling you, I like that strong style. I do, because in one of my favorite matches to cite this on is, I don't remember what show it was, but I know it was Kota Ibushi. No, I'm sorry, it was Kushida versus Hiromu Takahashi for the IWGP light junior heavyweight title.
Okay.
And Jesus, I mean, right out of the gate, like you just got the sense that these two fucking hated each other.
Yeah.
And they were laying it in hard. And a couple times I was like, oh shit. Like, I can't tell if they're like I couldn't tell. I could not tell. I'm sure they were cooperating, but I couldn't tell. Like if I didn't know anything about if you had taken me from 1800, let's say, and I didn't know that pro wrestling was orchestrated, I would have thought I was watching a fight. Like
Really?
not even a sports contest. I mean, I thought I was watching a fight.
It's okay. I thought wrestling was real up until 5th grade, and my teacher told me it was fake.
Fuck your teacher. It's still real to us.
I cried a little bit. And I
Man,
decided my...
it's kind of like Santa Claus. Like you don't convince people that it's real after they know, but if they still think it's real, just let them have their fun. Let them have it. You know their hopes and dreams are gonna get crushed eventually anyway.
I mean, my sister's 13 and she still thinks it's real.
Well, there you go. Like I said, the best way I describe it is like, oh, it's very real in the sense of what's happening is actually happening for the most part. Like there's some gimmick shit, but I mean, you know, it's what does JR always say? You can't learn how to fall off a 20-foot ladder.
He may be broken in half.
Good God Almighty! He's dead. He's dead.
Like getting hit with the chair sometimes doesn't feel too well. Going through tables don't feel too well.
Yep.
Thumbtacks and light tubes, kendo sticks, they don't feel too well.
Fuck thumbtacks, man. Every time I see a thumbtack spot, I'm just like, oh.
I would go through 1,000 thumbtacks before I get hit with a fishing pole again.
With a fishing pole?
Yes. It's like a whip.
Yeah, I can see that.
Man, I got hit with the fishing pole one time that left welts all over me. Thumbtacks aren't nothing. It's a quick hit and you're good.
I can see it. I'm weird though. Like I have this real aversion to being stabbed.
That's a little weird.
But like impact hits don't. Like I've never had a problem getting hit per se. Like I don't enjoy being punched in the face, but like I think I'd rather take that over thumbtacks. But anyway, that leads me into probably my final question for you. Because you got to wrap up at 6, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we got about 10 minutes. So we can do this question, close out, and then we're good. What would you say is your favorite match that you've been in?
Oh, my favorite match that I've ever been in. Now, we did a match called a Full Metal Madness, which is the same thing as a Full Metal Mayhem that TNA does. Basically, anything metal you can use. It's basically a no DQ match with nothing but really metal. I don't know. I always told myself that barbed wire was one of the only things I'd probably never take because I've seen too many people get shredded by barbed wire. Like I watched Sabu get fucking shredded by barbed wire and wrap it up. It wasn't my thing. And then the guy that I did the match with, he kind of talked me into it. It was kind of a more on the go move, and I let it happen. And after I let it happen, I'm like, this ain't too bad. Let's do another spot with it. That was a match where I had a lot of injuries in.
Those are famous last words, by the way. That wasn't too bad. Let's do it again.
Yeah. I had a lot of injuries that match. I took a coast to coast with barbed wire wrapped around a ladder.
Were you on the ladder, or was the ladder being brought to you?
Corner, and the ladder was already angled into where it should be between the ropes and me.
Ooh.
Had my legs straight with the rope. Well, we'd already used that ladder for a ladder spot, and where the things bow in and out to open and close.
Yeah.
It was closed and it was tweaked. And and it was against my leg, and when it hit, when he did the coast to coast, it dug out a piece of my leg, about a nickel quarter. I could and it hurt. And I seen it was bleeding. I was like, all right, I'll check it out after the match. Come to find out, he ripped a piece of my leg out. I could literally stick the tip of my finger in it. I've had in that match, I had a thumbtack go inside my chin. I was giving the guy that I was wrestling, I gave him a black hole slam, which is a business move. And when we landed, I landed and my chin hit the mat on the tacks, went right through it. This is also the match where I burnt my eyebrows a little bit. We did a spot where we took 2 chairs and put them together, wrapped it in barbed wire, and we were lighted on fire, and he would go give me a RKO on it.
Damn.
But the table wouldn't light, or the chair wouldn't light. So we had a Christmas tree that was wrapped in barbed wire. So we set that on top, and they lit that, and it just engulfed in flame. And then he gave me an RKO on it and burnt my eyebrows a little bit.
What show was this on? Can people still watch this match?
Yes, it is. Halloween Havoc 2019 on, if you go to XCW Shelbyville 1 on YouTube.
Okay, and actually the link is in the description for that channel. So Halloween Havoc 2019?
Halloween Havoc 2019.
Okay, I'm going to watch that.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, if it's not, they'll find out.
It's in 2019 towards the end of the year, though.
Yeah, for Halloween Havoc, I would think so.
Actually, it is Midwinter Warfare is what it is.
Midwinter Warfare.
Yes, 100%. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, God, dude, I can't wait to watch that. Who are you wrestling?
His name's Chris Jones.
Okay, so shout out to Chris Jones, who apparently beat the living hell out of my co-host.
Oh, we did more than that. He took a huge back body drop on a ladder. I powerbombed him from the inside to the outside.
God damn.
If not, we'll find a way to pin it in the comments for that specific that video. I will find it and he will get it.
There you go. Yep, we'll do that. Well, tell you what, we'll put it on the Twitter machine. I'll post the direct link on the Twitter machine.
There we go.
On Twitter at downthemiddlep.
I'll make sure you viewers get it.
Yeah, we'll make sure. You can see that for sure.
And we have other stuff on there too.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my best seasons yet was 2019. I held the XCW World Title for 196 days. I'd be the longest reigning.
He's legit, folks.
And I'm the only person to ever put my title on the line in Extreme King Battle Royal and win it too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everybody got to know you a little bit better, because since you are the new co-host, and also you'll all notice that the logo's still the same. We've got a new logo being made, but that's in the works, so that'll be sooner rather than later, which means new t-shirts. Those will be coming, and you can check out the official merchandise store down below, and you can get Down the Middle podcast merch, and we'll still have the original shirts on there too, because obviously they've still got Ben's likeness on them, so cool. And then we're also, this is in the works too. The new logo has the halo, and that's going to be an available shirt shortly, but we're going to keep that one a t-shirt, not do all the other stuff. And then when the new logo happens, but you can also get merchandise for RT Media as well as the Average Intelligence podcast. And we don't have a date yet, but another podcast will be joining our little podcast family. Stay tuned, because that's a big, exciting thing that I've been trying to get off the ground for a year. That was another thing that I was on Ben's ass to keep doing. But anyway, I digress. Thank you for enjoying another episode of Down the Middle. We're glad to be back, and we will be resuming our normal schedule. It'll be Saturday evenings, correct? That still works?
It is. It will be Saturday evenings.
Around 6 o'clock-ish, give or take.
Yeah, 6 o'clock-ish.
6 o'clock-ish. But we will see you again in 2 weeks. And if you enjoy watching Down the Middle, you can check out all the episodes up to this point on the YouTube channel. If you watch us on Twitch, sorry, you'll have to go to the back catalog on YouTube only because Twitch doesn't store videos. If you prefer listening to the podcast, you can check us out on several audio platforms, including but not limited to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Stitcher, Radio Now. I'm completely forgetting one. I'm forgetting more than one, but because there's so many, because it's so convenient. Anchor.fm, where you can also directly support the podcast if you so choose. All the funds that we receive go directly into the podcast for better equipment and other things of that nature. And eventually, we will just be fucking filthy rich, so all of you peons can donate money. Yeah, knock on wood. But we will see you all in 2 weeks. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but I will probably be bitching about Danhausen at some point.
Okay, it'll be bitch about something. That's all you got to worry about every episode. Is bitch about something.
Because, I mean, honestly, it's frustratingly bad right now. Although Forbidden Door is coming up, so we'll probably be previewing Forbidden Door, depending on how much the card has been revealed.
Okay.
Because that's in June, so it'll be early enough to kind of give our thoughts and predictions on that. Yeah. I would have suggested we cover Backlash, but it was essentially just a repeat of WrestleMania, so
it's like Backlash hit the Uno card in reverse.
Basically. There were some different outcomes, but I mean the match lineup was essentially the same. Well, anywho, that's all we've got for today. Go